Hey everybody, I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to talk about one of King Crimson's more underrated and under-talked about albums. It's their second album, In the Wake of Poseidon from 1970, I believe. There's some real hidden gems on this album, and it has a really good story too, not to mention the lineup was one of the more underrated ones. So let's get started by looking at the lineup. For guitar, we got Robert Fripp. We have Greg Lake on vocals, he's singing. Michael Giles is playing on the drums. His brother, Peter Giles, is playing bass. Keith Tippett is here and he's playing the piano. Mel Collin is playing the saxes and the flutes. Gordon Haskell is somewhere on the album. I don't know exactly where, but he sings. And we have Peter Sinfield, who wrote all the lyrics. So a bit of background knowledge of all of these members. So Robert Fripp, he was the only consistent member of the band throughout all of the years from their founding to the 21st century. And he's just kind of the regular and the, what you might say is the leader of the band, even though he doesn't call himself the leader. Greg Lake was also a founding member, and he agreed to join Emerson, Lake and Palmer by this point, but he decided to sing the vocals on this album too. Michael Giles is also a founding member, and kind of the same case as in Greg Lake. He left but decided to play the drums for this album. Peter Giles on bass. He had worked with Robert Fripp and Michael Giles before in a band before King Crimson called Giles and Fripp, but this is the first and only time Peter Giles played with King Crimson. Keith Tippett was hired mostly for the reason that him and Robert Fripp shared some similar musical ideas, meaning they kind of agreed on a lot of the musical decisions. Mel Collin, he's kind of a natural choice. He was in the prog scene a lot during that time, and while he left the band a couple of years later, he would come back in 2013 to play with the band more. While Gordon Haskell has a pretty small role in this album, considering you don't hear him a ton, he played bass and sung almost full-time on their next album, Lizard. Peter Sinfield was also a founding member, and he was kind of credited for making King Crimson sound. He played a large part in it and making it more complicated when it was too simple and such and such. He stayed with the band until 1972. So just as a disclaimer, I love this album. Sometimes I even like it more than the debut, but most of the time I do like the debut more. A common opinion that arises about this album is that it's supposedly a ripoff of the debut, a carbon copy, but that doesn't mean it's bad, because I do kind of agree with that claim in a couple ways. And I don't know if you could call this a review, but if you want to, yeah. I'm not going to give an opinion or like a rating, but let's get into it. The album starts off with this short, maybe 30-second long song, I think. It's just this kind of quiet Greg Lake vocal only. It's soft and kind of majestic, and if you want to consider the rest of the album as kind of a war, then this song is almost like a warning that we need to keep peace or else this is going to happen. And this claim kind of becomes more and more true when you consider the fact that right after this it goes straight into Pictures of the City, which is this chaotic 9-minute long, really cool piece. If you want to call this a copy of the debut, this is the 21st Century Schizoid Man of this album. It starts off with this fast saxophone and guitar build up before going into this kind of chuggy, slow section. The Greg Lake vocals kick in, and it's almost painting the picture of a kind of war-torn area. It's kind of almost chaotic. Maybe it's during a battle, but it kind of chills in this really chuggy, slow part until this huge unison bend part comes up with Robert Fripp, and then it goes into this instrumental part with this really fast guitar, and it's really epic and fast. And then it goes into the stop-start section to kind of show off really good musicianship, because it is impressive, but it also adds to the idea that this is a copy of 21st Century Schizoid Man, because there's a part in 21st Century Schizoid Man that follows the exact same structure as this part. And then there's this slow drum and bass section with volume swelling guitars, and it's cool, and it's kind of building up to go back into the earlier part, and it does, and it ends just like 21st Century Schizoid Man does. I'm sorry I keep relating it. It ends in just chaos, and then the song's done. Then we got Cadence and Cascade, which is almost like a remembrance of times that were better before this maybe. There's soft singing, there's cool flutes, and it's just a pretty song overall. Then we got my favorite song on the album, the title track, In the Wake of Poseidon. Yes, it reminds me of Epitaph, but that doesn't mean I don't love it. It's still absolutely amazing, and sometimes I actually like it more than Epitaph. It's got a ton of really cool drum fills, and the vocals are so beautiful. It's haunting a little bit, but it's more so melancholy. But the interlude in the middle of this song is really what drives it home for a lot of people. And the song just kind of ends with these descending epic parts. Then we have Piece of Theme, which is just similar to Piece of Beginning in that it follows a similar melody, but this time it's played on guitar, and it's just a short guitar interlude between, kind of a transition actually, between In the Wake of Poseidon and Cat Food. But moving on to Cat Food, I don't really see the importance of the story in Cat Food, but I do really like it because the chorus is really catchy and kind of sounds Beatles-ish. But Keith Tippett's avant-garde style of playing his piano is what like really reigns in this song. Like there's no other song that displays him going this crazy on the piano as in this song. And there's the Devil's Triangle, which is kind of this scary closing epic that's like 12-13 minutes long, and it has In the Court of the Crimson King sometimes playing throughout it in the background, and it's just this building kind of scary song that tries to scare you out, and it is pretty scary. It could represent a battle or the final coming of whatever's happening in the story of the album, but the album ends on a good note with the final song being Peace and End. It really displays peace because Peace, the beginning, was just vocals, Peace, a theme, was just guitar, and now the end is vocals and guitar, so it kind of shows that these two have unity in a way. And it's a really pretty song too. It's a bit longer than the other Peace tracks, and it's probably the best out of those. Overall, I think it's an album about trying to reach peace and representing duality. But anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.